Focal Point AFR Talk. You know, we've talked before about Michelle Obama's obesity thing. You know, you think about that, the message that she's sending to young kids. I mean, she's down on them for being overweight. And she's making a national campaign out of how terrible it is that kids are overweight. Now, what's the impact on that, on the mindset of a young child who's got the president's wife railing on him for having a weight problem? So she came up with this big deal about nutrition in schools. We got to have healthier meals. We got to make them eat fruit. We got to make them eat vegetables. We got to reduce the size of their portions of the main course, because this is good for them. It's what they need. We're going to make them eat right, whether they like it or not. Now, I couldn't find the story, but I got the soundbite about the school in New York. It's Niskayuna School District in New York. They lost 75 grand trying to do it Michelle Obama's way. Kids wouldn't eat the food. They threw it away. They stopped buying lunches. They were selling half of the lunches that they had sold before. So they were going in the tank trying to do it Michelle Obama's way because the food tasted like sheetrock and the kids didn't want to eat it. They started bringing their lunches from home, stopped buying the lunches at the school. When they did buy them, they threw half the food away. They were losing money hand over fist, so they voted unanimously to completely bag the whole Michelle Obama Let's Move anti-obesity nutrition program. And here's an excerpt from a news story from a local station about it.
In addition, kids who were forced to take certain foods wound up tossing it in the trash. Lunch prices increased, portions decreased, and the number of kids who were buying their lunch at school was essentially cut in half. By November, the school district's food operation was $59,000 in the red.
It's not just a money problem. We have kids that are hungry, and that's what we're here for. They can't learn if they're hungry. So we want to make sure that we're meeting all of their needs, and nutrition is a big part of that.
Suzanne says the district will now go back to their former award-winning menus, which she says is much more than just chicken nuggets and pizza.
It's a good moment right now. I'm happy that we can go back to serving kids what it is that they want and that it's healthy and nutritious.
So Michelle Obama was just killing them, and Michelle Obama's plan was harming education. It was actually hurting the people that they liberals claim they care so much about, our precious little children. We got to make sure they eat right so they can learn. They weren't eating because the food was tasteless. And so it was actually affecting their ability to learn. And against the same thing, ladies and gentlemen, I've said it every time, liberal policies hurt the little guy. It's always the little guy that has to pay the price of the policies of these socialist-leaning type ideas. Meanwhile, we talked about this, the luncheon that Michelle Obama served on Inauguration Day, 3,000 calories. So Michelle Obama has no problem serving 3,000 calorie lunches, and she wants high school athletes to get by on 850 calories of absolutely tasteless food. Here's that story, by the way, from CNN. The GOP's surprising edge on diversity. This is a piece by John Avlon, who's a senior political columnist for Newsweek and the Daily Beast. And he says this, that you'd think that the Democrats, based on what everybody believes, the stereotype out there, that they would be the diverse party. But he says this, on the diversity front, when it comes to statewide elected officials such as senators and governors, the Republicans leave Democrats in the dust. That's why the GOP actually has a greater depth of diversity on their potential presidential bench. And he says, let's start with governors. Among the Republican ranks, Brian Sandoval, the Hispanic governor of Nevada. Likewise, there is New Mexico's governor, Susana Martinez. How many Hispanic governors do the Democrats have? Precisely zero. What about the Indian American population? The governor of Louisiana is Bobby Jindal. The governor of he's a Republican. Governor of South Carolina, Nikki Haley. She is a Republican. Then you've got Tim Scott from South Carolina, who is the first African-American Republican from the South since Reconstruction. How many Indian American governors did the Democrats have? Precisely 0. Then you go to the United States Senate. You got Tim Scott, first African-American Republican senator since Ed Brooke of Massachusetts. He is the only black senator, period, Democrat or Republican. So the Republicans have one black senator. How many blacks do the Democrats have in the Senate? The answer is 0. And by the way, one of the problems that the Democrats have is they gerrymander these districts. They actually hurt black candidates for office because they gerrymander these districts to make sure that blacks can get elected, but they never learn to craft a message for a statewide electorate. So it's difficult for them to win statewide office because they're not used to having to appeal to the entire electorate of a state. So you look at, in the Senate, you got Marco Rubio, who is Hispanic from Florida. You have Ted Cruz from from Texas. He's Hispanic. How many do the Democrats have? One. Senator Bob Menendez. He's the guy that's liable to go to prison for having sex with underage prostitutes. And so, again, CNN says the GOP has the edge when it comes to diversity. Now, here's Mark Levin, clip 10. Mark, you know, the theme out there is Obama's destroying the Republican Party. And Mark Levin says, no, you're looking at the wrong place. This is not Barack Obama's fault. Let's listen.
Is Obama destroying the Republican Party? No. The Republican establishment's destroying the Republican Party. The only reason they're in the majority in the House is because of conservatives. Conservatives across the country, the grassroots. They lost the Senate. They like to point to 2 races, one in Missouri and one in Indiana. I can point to 10 races where there were liberal to moderate Republicans who lost. And of course, they never mention that. The fact of the matter is, from my opinion, I'm not trying to project it onto you, until the Republican leadership that has brought us a McCain and Romney, that has a feckless RNC, a preposterously incompetent get-out-the-vote operation, is removed and replaced with fresh, smart, confident, knowledgeable people. Until some of our backbenchers move to the front, some of the young Tea Party conservative candidates who can articulate our vision and our principles, this is going to continue. Obama may want to destroy the Republican Party, but the Republican Party's imploding. And you know what? It needs to be cleansed. It needs to be cleaned out, not for purity reasons, not for absolutism, but because it needs to be a party that stands for something. Can you tell me what the Republican Party stands for today?
That's a great question. That's a question I keep asking. What does this party stand for? I mean, now they're for amnesty. They signed off on the biggest tax increase in 20 years with the fiscal cliff bill. I mean, what exactly does this party stand for? And that's Mark Levin's point. It's the GOP establishment that is destroying this party. Now, let's a couple of quick Second Amendment sound bites. Here's Aaron Burnett of CNN. Remember President Obama out there telling, oh, yeah, I go skeet shooting all the time. I'm a bitter clinger. Just like those white people in Pennsylvania. I go to my cabin in the woods on the weekends, and I just shoot the heck out of clay pigeons. I shoot the heads off of those little tiny clay pigeons. They don't have heads. I'm just making that up. But here's Aaron Burnett, and she is suspicious that Barack Obama's ever held a shotgun or fired it in his life. Let's listen.
There is some skepticism among conservatives and non-conservatives about the president's frequency of skeet shooting. Mark Knoller from CBS News, you know, he's the sort of unofficial historian of the press corps. He he tells us he's heard of bowling, golfing, hiking, archery, swimming, but not skeet shooting. So now you're going to say you do it all the time. Don't you kind of have to prove it?
So Aaron Burnett.
Okay, seriously, we went through 4 years of this man trying to prove he's an American, trying to prove he's a Christian. Okay, I don't need to see a photo of the president reading a Bible to know he's a Christian. I don't need a photo of his birth certificate. So seriously, and I really don't care. So he doesn't need to show a photo to go, oh, there's the president holding a gun, because I've always thought it was stupid when politicians would run these photos or video of them out wading through the weeds to show everybody, hey, he's a hunter. It's really not that big of a deal, and it's not going to change anybody's mind as it relates to gun control in this country.
So Aaron Burnett, CNN, calling President Obama out. If you're a skeet shooter, if you know how to handle a shotgun, why don't you step forward and prove it? Now, here's Bob Costas, clip number 9. You know, Bob Costas is the guy saying we got to have gun control because guns kill people. Guns are the problem. Got to get rid of guns. He did that as a sports commentator in the middle of a Sunday night NBC football game. And here he's kind of changing his tune a little bit. Let's listen.
We have to acknowledge that that guns are glorified in hip-hop culture. Some 70% of the players in the NFL are African American. Not all of them are influenced by that part of the culture, but some of them are. Guns are glorified. Many of these kids come out of environments where it's commonplace for a 14 or 15-year-old kid to be packing.
Well, it's also
So Bob Costas, now he's saying, look, the culture's got something to do with this. It's a matter of values. You've got a culture, the hip-hop culture, that glorifies guns. So he's all of a sudden Bob Costas saying, no, it's not just the guns, it's culture and its values. Bob, welcome to our world. That's what we've been saying since we started. Let's go back to the phones. Let's go to Sid in Rochelle, Georgia. Sid, you're on Focal Point. What's on your mind?
Oh, yes. You're talking about the illegal aliens not getting ahead of Americans. I got a son that's had cerebral palsy since birth. When he got ready to get out of school, we applied for assistance so he could kind of get some independent living.
Uh-huh.
Fought for 3 years, tooth and nail. They kept wanting him to be retarded. He's not. He's got a good mind, graduated honors. But we've had several people that told us they was into office, and if an application come through that office, and all it had to have was handwritten in pencil or what, Hispanic, that application, they couldn't ask no questions about it. It was put in front of the line.
So in other words, the key to getting the kind of benefits that you were looking for were to present yourself as a Hispanic immigrant, and then you'd go right to the head of the line.
That's right. I told my son he's going to have to dumb down, go across the border, and swim the river.
All right, Sid. I appreciate the call. Thank you for that. And I had some good friends, Debbie and I, very good friends of ours back when we lived in Boise, that were in America, in the United States, on student visas, graduated from Boise State, loved this country, wanted to become citizens here, wanted to stay here. Both of them very gifted concert pianists, very, very talented. Exactly the kind of immigrants that you want, would enrich this country, love this country, had assimilated, and would be contributors. And they weren't allowed. They're living in Canada because they couldn't get in. And their question to me back in 2007, how can I become an illegal alien? John McCain says if I'm illegal, I go to the front of the line. How can I become an illegal alien? Focal Point AFR Talk.